and their Twitter.
Oh, hi, Twitter.
Hi, Twitter. Hello. Hi, guys. We are on here for our weekly Monday caregiver check-in.
Except you're not on Instagram, really.
I'm not on. Oh, I'm halfway on Instagram. Hi, Instagram. Hello. So every Monday, by the way, I'm Darren Fink, and this is the lovely
Margie Fink.
And every Monday we get on here just to check in with everyone. That's why we call it our Monday Caregiver Check-In. It's a place for you as a foster parent or adoptive parent just to check in, to say hey to us, to tell us something great going on in your world, or if you have questions, to ask questions, or get advice, or give advice. So feel free to go ahead and comment whenever you want to with questions or just exciting things happening in your world. We want to hear about what's happening in your life. You guys run this whole thing. This is your time. We just give an hour of our week so that we can connect with you and make sure that everyone's doing okay and ready to make it through another week. So hope everyone's doing good. Let us know as you guys are logging in here. We see random folks that are logging in. I think our Facebook folks are having a little bit of trouble here. Let me check one thing real quick. Go ahead and give a thumbs up if you are online so that we know that you are online and everything is going good. So Margie, how has your week been? You just got done with what?
Spring break just ended. So kids went back to school today, and going back to school and getting back into routine is kind of good for everybody, I think.
It is good for everyone. I think the kids are actually excited to go back to school. Like, I don't know if anyone else has that experience, that kids are excited to go back to school, but they were excited to go back to school. So yeah.
We're in the final stretch here.
We are. Like, how many more weeks are left?
Well, our senior graduates in like 2 months from yesterday.
Right, it's coming up really quick.
Yeah.
So we're on the home stretch. I feel like, hey, how you doing there in Twitter? Hello. The funny part is I haven't explained why there's a Monday here. Adoption options here. Hey. I'm gonna have too much fun with this thing. So anyways, yeah, we're right in the final stretch. So last week we came from you guys at Universal Studios Orlando to talk, and we kind of talked about different spring break things and different things about vacationing. And this week we thought we would talk a little bit more about, we're back at home, we're getting back into the grind. How many more weeks do you guys have left of school where you're at? Like, school's got to be winding down for everyone. I know in Tennessee it ends earlier than everyone else's. Like,
not everyone, but a lot.
Not everyone. A lot of places. When does it end for you guys? When are you guys almost done with school? Like, let us know. Like, and what do you do once you get done with spring break? Like, what is coming back to spring, like back to school look like?
Adoption option wants to know about the special friend in the middle.
The special friend in the middle. So, okay, well, I'll jump into that. But we want to hear more about spring break, and we want to hear more about what you guys do for jumping back into real life after spring break. So, just for fun, this is one of our little friends that we made at Build-A-Bear Workshop. Anyone know what Build-A-Bear Workshop is? Has anyone been to Build-A-Bear Workshop? What do you guys think? Has anyone had good experiences at Build-A-Bear Workshop? What have you built at Build-A-Bear Workshop? So obviously I have made a monkey, and this guy's actually getting kind of old. He's one of like the original, I think, Build-A-Bear thing. Hey, thanks. I like my glasses too. Oh, maybe they meant yours. I'm just assuming they mean mine. Maybe they mean your glasses.
I don't know. See, my glasses are on because my allergies are awful right now, so I'm not wearing my contacts. But you went without glasses for a really long time because yours got broken.
Mine got broken, and I didn't like it.
And so you went like, what? It was like a good part of the year without glasses.
It was, but we diverge.
Yes. So they are kind of new, but that's why I'm saying they might be talking about your glasses because they're kind of new.
So our special friends from Build-A-Bear, I think he was one of the original, like, I think ones that they rolled out with besides like the actual Jeremy Bear, I think. Both glasses are amazing. Thanks. So anyways, we have, well, yeah, what a lot of people wonder why we are so big into Build-A-Bear. Love the hearts. Thanks for the hearts. We are so big into Build-A-Bear with foster and adoptive families because of the options and it involves an experience with it. Again, I want to hear, what have you guys made at Build-A-Bear Workshop if you've been to one? Adoption Option says they're getting slammed with snow in the Northeast. Got 2 feet in one storm last week. Oh man, they're getting a ton of snow in the Northeast. Oh, that stinks. No fun for spring break for you.
I was telling you this morning, there is a chance that here in Tennessee we might be getting some. Knoxville probably won't, because we tend to be like the spot that it'll snow all around us and we won't get anything. But I was like, it does say it's going to snow Tuesday night into Wednesday. Kids will be in school till June 26th so far. Wow. Is that just because of all the snow, or do you guys start later?
Well, so on Instagram, Adoption Option is saying their kids are going to be in school up till June 26th.
I think for us, so seniors graduate on May 18th, so they're done. Yeah. But then everybody else continues. I think they've got a half day on the 22nd of May, and then they're done. So we are out, yes, due to snow. Yeah, we used quite a bit of our days. So you're strange.
I'm going to go back to okay. So let me finish this thought. So Build-A-Bear, it involves an experience. So on Instagram, Adoption Option was asking about my little monkey friend here. We tell a lot of foster adoptive parents that Build-A-Bear, albeit it is pricey. You can definitely go to Walmart and get something cheaper for a kiddo to sleep with at night. But the cool part about Build-A-Bear Workshop is, especially if you have like an elementary age kid or even a middle school, actually even high school, I would think. Like even high schoolers sleep with stuffed animals, right? Especially if they're girls.
Depends on the child.
But if you take them to Build-A-Bear, what happens then is you're going through and you're finding out their likes, their dislikes. You're having to ask questions. You're having to work together to solve a problem. And they just think they're getting a stuffed animal, but you're having to go through and say, okay, which one do you like? Hey, we have this much money to spend, so if you get this one, then we can't get clothes for it, or we can do this, but we can't do that. So you're having to work together, problem solve, figure things out, but you're also discovering, like, what do they like, what do they not like, what's their favorite color. So you're all of a sudden it's becoming this bonding experience, and it's not just, hey, let's go to Walmart and get you something so you can sleep with it. Although, I mean, I guess you could work it out in Walmart too, right? Like you could go through and say, we have this much money to spend. I just find that the whole process is set out for you at Build-A-Bear. So. Well,
and they get to name it and they do the little certificate, which is kind of fun because they're adopting an animal, but.
Adoption Option says, yes, it's good for teens, but teens will totally deny sleeping with them. Yes, I think teens can use this too. Yeah, you get to name it, and it's just, so it becomes an experience.
Out all the clothes, and they get to, like, the real little ones still get into, like, the little station there at Build-A-Bear where they get to bathe it and clean it off and all that kind of stuff. So that's fun. But we've had several just really great experiences with our kids with Build-A-Bear.
Yeah, we have. And it's not something that we do a lot, and I won't even say that we do it with every foster kiddo that comes in our house. But I just find that you just kind of assess like which kid you think it would be good for. But like, this is definitely like a cool tool. And then they have it and it's something really cool. And again, it's something, you're not tricking them, but you're not sitting down and directly saying, hey, we're going to get to know each other. And hey, we're going to figure this out. Like, you're just saying, hey, do you want to go get a bear to sleep with? You know, like, it's not like it's not tricking them, but it's indirectly doing stuff and just having fun with it, I guess. I don't know how else to say it. So I just find it's a really cool tool. But I'd love to hear more from you guys. Has anyone ever been to a Build-A-Bear workshop? What did you guys make? What do you have fun doing there? I know it's more expensive. I know that. But like, what have you done that's really cool that you like doing at Build-A-Bear?
So Adoption Option says it's a great idea and a keepsake for later down the road. And that's what we've kind of found with our kids. Like usually when we've been to Build-A-Bear, it's been when we've been on a vacation or we're somewhere. Like I think one of our first trips to Build-A-Bear was with our kids. We were in Chicago visiting I'm not sure if the boys had even moved in with us yet. I think we might have been doing transitional visits for them to move into our home. And they were on a road trip with us during that transition time. And we were in Chicago, and we went.
Hey, Marianne.
No, I think it was when we went to St. Louis to the zoo or something.
Yeah.
And because I remember they had dinosaurs.
Well, it was a science center that we went in St. Louis, and they had dinosaurs, so we did that. So it was a lot of fun. And it's just, and the fun part is certain ones of the Build-A-Bears they can look back on and remember where they got it from.
Yeah, well, and a lot of times if it is like at a kind of touristy place, they will have shirts like one of our kiddos, I was talking about the Chicago trip, I think, was it Dalton's monkey? And it had, like, he had a Chicago t-shirt for it. And so it was a memento. It was something we, did together and he had a lot of fun with. And for years, that's been something he remembers. And even the older kids, as they've gotten done with stuffed animals, like those first dinosaurs from that very first trip to Build-A-Bear at the Science Center, those dinosaurs are packed in their memory boxes.
Well, here's something
they wanted to keep.
I've totally forgotten about this because we've never done it. But if anyone else has done it, please comment and let me know what it's like. But they also at Build-A-Bear, you can record sounds in there now. So you can actually record the sounds. So talking about a keepsake, you could actually put something in there saying you're special, you're loved, you're, whatever you want to put in there that they can keep then when the kiddo takes it with them if they're not going to be staying at your home. The other thing that they're also doing is they're including scents. And I've heard of other foster parents actually taking oils or different things like calming oils, and they will take it. And the people at Build-A-Bear will actually put it on a heart that they put inside the animal. They'll put the calming oil scent inside so that they can, like, a kid can snuggle with it at night and get that, like, they can smell the calming oils.
They were doing that. That's really cool.
Well, they do have, like, they have heart. No. They have the heart that the kid makes the wish on, and they put it in there. But then they also have, like, a scent. It almost looks like the heart. It's just like a little bar or like a little thing that they have different scents, like cotton candy or strawberries or banana. And then, because I remember it because the Minions came out and some people are putting in that. Yeah. Lavender oil, that'd be great to put in there. So, but they put the scents in there now, and so the animal can smell. But I've heard, it was the lavender oil. I've heard foster parents taking that to Build-A-Bear and then putting it in the bear with something that keeps that, so then kids can sleep with this at night and smell the lavender oil and just fall asleep. Oh, you know what? It was actually a kid that had sensory issues too and didn't want the oil on them. Mm-hmm. And so that was the mom's workaround for having that. So yeah. So, hey, everyone that's joining us. We're talking about just Build-A-Bear. If you guys have made anything at Build-A-Bear, we'd love to hear about it. We're just talking about how it's a great tool for foster and adoptive parents because you're having an experience with your new kiddo. You're problem solving. You're figuring stuff out together. You're figuring out likes, dislikes. You have to figure out give and take things like budget and work together to make this process to take this furry little friend home. So very cool. I'd love to hear more of anyone else's ideas for things that they do with a new child or ways to bond with a new kid as they come into a home. And again, if you guys don't want to talk about this issue, this is Monday Caregiver Check-In. So please comment or question or just suggest anything that you want to, and we will talk about that and stop what we're talking about. We just talk about this because it would be awkward us just sitting here staring at you guys. So the other thing that we were going to talk about is, so we were talking about, spring break happened, at least in Tennessee, it happened already. It's already, some of you are already still on spring break, like you just started. So kudos for you. I'm jealous.
Or not jealous.
Or not.
Because being out of routine with kids who've been through trauma can also be very stressful.
I don't want adventure. Come on. But anyways, they have so we're getting back to life now. And one thing that I'm getting ready to do is I'm getting ready to do kind of a breakout session workshop on, we're calling it Thinking Differently, using media to help your child work through trauma. And one of the things we're talking about is how do you properly use media. And that means the arts or existing media, such as books, movies, songs, how do you properly use that so that you can bond with your kids or help them move through trauma, more importantly? And so one of the things that I was noting on, and I was looking through several therapists' notes and different things, is there actually is a wrong way to to deal with our kids, like with media. Does that make sense? Like we can actually, like you can actually do harm if you're not doing it the correct way. And what do you guys think about that? Like because I'm an art major, so I mean, a lot of times I know people looking at art or paintings or listening to music just say, you know, just listen, whatever it is to you, that's what it is to you. Do you think that there's a right or a wrong way to let our kids view the arts or media, but at the same time try to work through their issues and problems? Like, is there a wrong or a right way? What do you think? Do you have any thoughts on that offhand?
Well, I think one of the things you were talking about, wasn't it, if you just watch a movie and then don't discuss it, that maybe triggered them and maybe they didn't say anything about it, that can cause harm.
Yeah.
If then they're left to kind of process that by themselves.
Right. And like one of the therapists,
or if they misinterpret something.
One thing that I was seeing was that one therapist was saying too that one reason why there can be harm done when kids are left to their own devices to work through issues while watching movies and stuff is that there's no, basically as the caregiver, as the safe, loving adult in their life, we're there to kind of help navigate them because they're kind of new to a lot. I mean, they're inexperienced. And so if you take that out of the equation, which it said a lot of adults will take themselves out because they feel inexperienced with dealing with things, which, I mean, the statistic we're often quoting is 50% of new caregivers are going to quit within the first year because they feel inadequate to deal with the different issues our kids have. So if that happens, you're taking that out of the equation. One, the kid is going to feel like they're still in control and they have to be in control. Otherwise, they're going to, you know, die, essentially. I mean, it's going to go down that slippery slope. The other thing is, too, is it might help them see a solution to a problem, but, you know, like in fairy tales, everything is so rose-colored glasses that they're not able to see, like, that is so unrealistic for real life. Like, that is never, basically, the therapist said, without a safe adult to help the kid navigate things, it could either trigger their trauma and make them severely anxious, or it could make them pie in the sky, like rose-colored glasses, and just think that all these really happy endings are going to happen for their life. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Well, I know there was one time when we realized that one of our kids who was kind of older hadn't ever really learned the difference between what's like if it was on TV, it was real. Like,
can I share that story?
Yeah.
Because the kid was probably, so we had a kiddo in our home that he was probably what, 11, 12?
Maybe even a little bit.
Maybe a little older.
Teen.
I mean, we're not talking like, but like the kid in our home, like he was watching TV. It was a real life movie. Like, I mean, it wasn't a cartoon. It was like actual people playing parts, but it was a fictitious movie. And there was
very fictitious, like
very like almost like, I'm trying to think, like watching Thor Ragnarok, like fictitious, like where you're like, that's obviously not, there's not a rainbow bridge that's coming to take us up to like see Odin or anything like that. Like, but this child like very much was like confused about something and was like, so if they're on TV there, then how did that happen? Like, and I had to look at them and be like, you do realize, hey, Reese, I had to look at them and say, you realize this is make-believe on TV, right? This isn't actually happening. So yeah, like without like an adult there, like that child just couldn't navigate through that. So really interesting, but I'll reiterate here, grab adoption options comment. But while I'm doing that, everyone joining in, we're kind of talking about, media. Is there a wrong way or a right way to view media, and can harm be done when your foster child's watching media? Hey, Reese, no kidding. It has been a long time. hey, catch up with us. For seriously, you need to catch up with us because a lot's happened, and we need to talk with you.
Side conversation.
Side conversation, right? Hey, it's caregiver check-in. That's what it's all about, is side conversations.
Adoption Option said, I guess if the caregiver doesn't know the content and the kid sees something negative that he or she might have seen or experienced, that could trigger them. And I think that's one of the things I did with Allison Douglas and I a while back. She's from Harmony Family Center here in Knoxville. We did a webinar on trauma triggers and media, and one of the things we talked about is we don't always know what a child has seen or what they've experienced. So something might trigger them that we would have no idea that it would trigger them because we don't know that that's something that they've dealt with.
Right. And I think some of the therapists that I was looking at said one of the big things that you need to be to showing child, and they're not just talking about going to the movie theater necessarily, they're talking about like the workshop that I'm getting ready to do on, it's talking more about using it for therapy and using it because not all some therapists, there's kind of an argument whether parents can use media to help kids work through trauma or whether it needs to be left to therapists. So Reese on Twitter says, yes, we don't do news in our home, very strict on movies. We had to cut out fighting shows like Ninjago. I hope I said that right. I know what it is. I just never pronounce it right.
Well, and that was one thing we cut out. We're just now, I think, because all of our kids are kind of old enough that they're actually seeing more news at school.
Right.
And talking current events because, you know, we've got mostly middle school and high schoolers. So they're seeing the news, but there was several years where we had to cut out all news because even if it was something like, you know, at the time we lived in this, you know, Midwest and, you know, it was like there were landslides and hurricanes and things on TV and a stabbing in the subway. And all of a sudden, all those things were going to happen, even though we didn't have a subway, we weren't by the ocean, and we didn't have mountains. So it was kind of like anything, there was just extreme anxiety. Anything that was on the news was going to happen. All of it was going to happen at one point right. to that same child all the time. So, you know, every major, video games can be another.
But video games, okay, so Adoption Option said video games also are a trauma trigger. But let's go into video games for just a little bit. I know you want to get into this book that you went to grab, but let's get into video games for a little bit because Margie and I just, I think video games can also, as trauma triggering as video games can be, which I would love to hear what video games that you guys allow or don't allow in your homes for your kids to play. But I think they can also be a useful tool. And we went, when we were at one of our trips to Universal Studios in Orlando, we were talking with a gal from Portkey Games. They're actually the team that are going to be making Hogwarts Mystery. It's going to be a mobile game app that's coming out later this year. We were talking
almost like a build your own adventure kind of feel to it.
For the Harry Potter Wizarding World. But we were talking with one of the gals that's one of the leads on the team, and she said she used to be in social work, and she said she believes that there could be games created to help kids from traumatic situations that are adopted or in foster care to help them work through issues and heal through things. So I thought that was an interesting concept. We actually, I'm using my phone for this live feed. Otherwise I'd go on there, but there's an app too that a UK team put together, a mobile game using the story from an adoptive girl, and just her story. It was just interesting because as you go through the game, you get a lot of the feelings and emotions that an adoptee would have. And I think that's useful for parents and teens to play the game together and then to talk about things, which is what the therapists that I'm talking about are really talking about when using media. They're saying parents or caregiver need to be present, and they need to, even if you don't understand anything and you feel inadequate, you need to go through it with the child, learn about it together. That's the best way. And then just ask lots of open-ended questions and just be interested into it. Reese on Twitter says, NPR has a story on how VR can be helpful, especially with phobias. Ooh.
Be interesting.
That would open up a whole can of worms, I bet, too. like phobias. It'd be useful for phobias, but I could see how it would also very much be trauma triggering. Yeah, these are all like great tools. It's like, isn't it interesting how they can go one way or the other? And I think having a caring adult in the mix, it makes all the difference. Let's see, the mature ones that the kids aren't supposed to have, like Grand Theft Auto, etc. They're scenes of drug use, robbery, etc. Yeah, so Adoption Option said that on Instagram.
A lot of our kids from foster care and from, you know, who were adopted later very likely have lived through. And so that is extremely triggering.
So here's something interesting that I just thought of is, so what do you guys do with your, okay, so we've heard Ninjago, limiting fighting shows,
and games.
And games, you guys are saying limiting that stuff with your foster adoptive kiddos because it's just for their own sanity and maybe yours too, probably. Like what? I just totally lost it. Oh, so what? No, I did. I lost it. I totally lost it. Oh, what do you do when the child comes into your home and they've already experienced the stuff and you have to put the brakes on it? How do you deal with that situation? Because we had to deal with that situation quite a bit when we had a new teen come into our home. Well, and their younger sibling too. Like, how do you guys deal with when you know this child can't handle certain media or shouldn't be seeing certain media, like maybe drug use on Grand Theft Auto, but they've been playing the game for years or watching the movie for years, and all of a sudden you're telling them, not in my house. Or
yeah, we had a child that came in, a high schooler, who had seen tons of horror flicks, and even like elementary. We've had elementary kids who've.
Yeah. So Adoption Option saying, yeah, they not kids aren't allowed to do it in their house, but they go over to friends' houses where the kids can use it or do have it. That's another thing too, because I know that our kids, well, and I think our kids, it's been more innocent. It's been more like you're not allowed to have, like you're grounded from electronics for a couple days, and then all of a sudden they get real interested in going over to their friend's house, and they think they're so sly that we don't know that they're going over to their friend's house to play Wii or to like watch a movie or something like that, and we're like, it's just kind of nice. It's quieter in the house. Like, you're not really getting away with it. We're doing okay.
Yeah, and I think with kids coming in later and they're used to doing all those kinds of things.
I'll get to that. Hold on, Reese. I'll get to that and go ahead and finish your thought.
Well, that's kind of when it comes to this point where you got to figure out what are the first things that you're going to tackle, because you can't tackle everything necessarily at once too. Reese was just saying on Twitter that just having open, honest conversations and setting at placement, saying this is what's expected, this is what's going to happen. Being safe when they are viewing stuff. So I think it's the other big thing that the therapists were talking about is just expecting the right time, like being able to discern the right time to show kids things. And I'm not talking just like, hey, they shouldn't see drug use on Grand Theft Auto and that just like obviously a blank, like I'm talking like, let's talk about Pete's Dragon for a little while. The new Pete's Dragon that Disney made has a horrific scene at the very beginning of the parents dying in a car crash. They're all involved in a car crash. That could potentially be useful for a child that has been in some sort of situation where they've lost their parents, where they could see it and you could process it. But obviously, as a caregiver, I'm going to discern, like, if this just happened a week or 2 weeks ago to the kid, I'm not going to show them that movie because that's going to be horrifically fresh in their mind that their parents just died. So I think it's like the therapists were saying too, you've got to know when the right time is to show them for therapy reasons. And two, there might just be times when they don't want to talk about it. It's a Disney movie. The parents always die.
Yes, it's a Disney movie. Why do the parents always die in Disney movies? Can't we tug at heartstrings some other ways? Yeah. Jeez. Look, well, either that or the foster parents are always like devils. Like we're always evil. But yeah, like there might be some things that they just don't want to talk about. I know. Kill the pet. Yes. The dogs never die.
Old Yeller, that wasn't Disney though.
Old Yeller, yeah, that was Disney. Old Yeller was Disney. Yeah, that was Disney. But I think there's some things, right? Like I can't think of anything off the top. But what are issues that you might want to tackle with your kids in a movie? Like, what are issues that would be good to talk about in a movie? I mean, losing a parent, obviously, because we're talking about on, Reese on Twitter is saying that, every Disney movie kills off the parents. So that's something that can come up, is the loss of a parent. What are some other hard topics? Actually, some things that are actually potentially trauma triggers, moving. Yeah, that's another one, definitely.
Yeah, like Inside Out. That was a big part of Inside Out, was moving.
I'm not going to lie. We actually have a cheat sheet here that we planned on talking about, and I accidentally started the conversation, didn't even realize it. It was, we actually if you go on our website at transfiguringadoption.com, we actually have a blog that I just put on Facebook. Yeah, Inside Out was a great movie, potentially trauma triggering, but yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we're equivalent to the evil stepmother, stepfather.
Yes, foster parents in movies are always
adoptive parents.
Adoptive parents too, yeah, for sure. We're never
even like
there are a few though.
The Fantastic Beasts movie.
Oh,
there's
yeah,
a line where
I was sad about that too.
That was a rough one, where they said, "Oh, she just something about like she hates all those kids that she adopted," and kind of. That's
funny. Everyone's putting like on Instagram and Twitter. Everyone's putting emojis on there. Hey, Nick. But the one thing I was going to say too is with dealing with potential trauma triggers, we actually just put a post up on Facebook, which we wrote. We actually came up with this with someone from another agency that
it was from the webinar that I was talking about quite a while ago back, which is on our YouTube archive, isn't it?
I'd have to go check on that. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure.
10 questions for discovering media triggers which hurt foster adoptive kids. So these are like questions that we ask ourselves when our crew is going through a media, a movie or a book or something like that, or even a song. Like, we look at these 10 questions to ask ourselves, how is this book going to rate? And this is how we come up with like if you look at our grading system on our different media things, this is how it all gets influenced. And our volunteers that help us rate things, they look at this stuff too, and they're well versed in it. So, but yeah, one of them was Reese on Twitter was talking about moving. That's a trauma trigger. You have to know where your kid is. Like, how do they feel about moving? I know even with our kids moving, we lived in Illinois and then moved here to Tennessee, and that was very. Even though we were all moving together, it was still very
anxiety.
Yeah, just a lot of anxiety. We saw a lot of behaviors resurface. What are some other trauma triggers you guys can think of? I'll share one real quick if I don't hear one. What's one that you don't think people look for?
Child having to be the one who fixes everything. Yes. I
thought you said it, but reset it. Yeah,
reset it. Yes, Adoption at the Movies. We actually, if you look at his book, Adoption at the Movies, that he wrote, Darren actually wrote one of the little.
Oh yeah, I have
on the back cover or whatever.
I have a quote in Adoption at the Movies. The book is what they're talking about on Instagram. There's a book called Adoption at the Movies,
and they're probably talking about the website.
Right, but he did write a book. It's the same guy. And I have a quote in there, like, what do you call it? Endorsing. I have an endorsement quote on his book. So a lot of to the movies. He's phenomenal. We consider him a sister website with us. I hope he considers it the same way. But he allows us.
Sometimes when we do our movie reviews, we put like a little snippet of his review.
He allows us to put stuff on our website from his reviews. Yeah, so we love Addison. He's great.
Yep.
He's
right one of here, Darren Fink.
Yep. They couldn't really see that because you had it download, but that's okay. They can read it.
I can read it to everybody.
Yay! Definitely go check out his book though. It's amazing. But yeah, what were we talking about? Where the kids have to fix everything. Yes, it's like
one of the books that
Hey, Yvonne.
Everyone says like, oh, read this book. It's about like a children's book about adoption, Sweet something, but it's got a low ranking from us because the whole thing, it's like the child's fixing everything and the adult looks like a bumbling idiot. And we're like, no, this is not a good book because our kids actually struggle with this.
And what made the book even worse was it was a book about a sheriff that was supposed to be going to help her escape like a villain. And like, I mean, there was some serious, like she she ran away from the orphanage, went out into the desert, and then there was a villain, like,
no, she was running away from, like, it was kind of like one of those Orphan Annie type deals.
Right, she was running
evil adoption person, like,
but there was also an escaped guy that was out there, and
okay.
she had. But what the part she had to fix was the sheriff couldn't take care of her to get her out of the desert, and he couldn't capture the villain that was after her. So she had to do everything, but the sheriff continually thought it was he himself doing it. So again, the kid had to fix everything, and it just, I don't know, it was just horrible. Nick says, I was not adopted, can only speak from experience. The one thing that always triggered me was father-son moments like an Armageddon with the gambler dad. Hold on, it cut off that. It's a Armageddon gambler dad. Things like that always took me to a dark place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I lost my dad when I was 11, and
right.
Lion King came out. I think it was a little while later, but it was still like fresh enough that that's very, beginning part of the movie, and it's a big part of the movie. And Lion King was really hard for me to watch. I think I might have been in high school, but that was hard for me. One of the things, being rejected, mm-hmm. like, our adults or peers or somebody rejecting the child. But one of the things that came up with, we were at one point having to sit down with a therapist and do some safety plan work to help prevent some triggers. And one of the things that I found really interesting, and I was working with this professional who said, does the media cause the child to have an adrenaline rush? So basically, like, because I'm thinking, okay, if a child has been sexually abused, I'm just looking for sexual content or nudity, that kind of stuff. That would be triggering, right, for a child who's been sexually abused.
Right.
But the therapist was saying it's not just nudity you're looking for. You're looking for this adrenaline rush or any kind of suspense or something, because it's creating the same chemicals in the body. And even though it wasn't nudity or anything having to do with sexual abuse, it's creating the same effects in the brain with the chemicals. So it can actually trigger those negative behaviors, even though they didn't see anything that is actually linked to the specific. So I found that really interesting. And it was something that we really had to learn a lot about.
Well, wasn't it something too, didn't they also tell us that that's a soothing thing too? Like that's a soothing, like when they have, like I know some children, like younger kids and stuff will have issues with masturbation and stuff like that. That's like a soothing thing. So when you get your adrenaline pumped up and you're anxious from the movie, that's going to be, and then obviously if you're thinking about having those thoughts, you're going to slip back into other issues that you're having. So yeah, it's just definitely interesting. Nick is saying, I can't read that, betterbundobook.com. I'm not sure what that is, but yay, websites. I'm not sure what it is.
We've got all devices everywhere, so we can't really look at stuff.
Yeah, so I think it's definitely, like, again, go to our, on Facebook, I recently posted it. It's called 10. If you go to our website at transfiguringadoption.com, the blog you're looking for is 10 questions for discovering media triggers which hurt foster adoptive kids. Again, put a search in on our website for 10 questions, and I'm sure it'll pop right up. Okay, so Nick was saying, so if you go to our Facebook, he shared a kid's book. Very cool. But yeah, so definitely go to the website. You can check out these questions. These are the exact same things like we said when we go through and do media reviews. People are wondering how we come up with the scores and the grades, and that's how we come up with, not completely, but for the most part, we're looking at a lot of these trauma triggers. Yeah, it's our people are wondering our thought process, and our volunteers what they're looking at, and that's some of it. And it's printable. Like this page that I printed out here, I printed it out in black and white. It's all pretty color on the PDF, but you can go on our website, search for the blog, and you can download it and print it off for yourself and share it with people or whatnot. I just ask that you keep our pretty Transfiguring Adoption logo on there so that you can help spread the word if people are using it. But yeah, let us know, you guys. Is there any other trauma triggers that you see in movies or that you have to be careful about watching? Again, Tennessee's coming off a spring break, so we're talking about getting back into real life, and getting back into real life means having to keep our kids safe with our routines and different things like that. So it's definitely, we're not on vacation anymore. Actually, I think what you said, though, I think vacation time is a little bit more bothersome than now because our routine helps us a lot. Reese said being lost on Twitter. He said that's a trauma trigger.
Yes.
Yeah, we have that on our list, actually.
Yes.
A character being abandoned or purposefully left behind. So like Home Alone, fun times for all of us 80s and 90s kids, but for other kiddos that have actually been left, it might not be fun.
But being abandoned or purposely left behind is different than being lost.
Adoption, right? Okay, well, I'll get to adoption options real quick here.
We're broadcasting on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and
YouTube.
YouTube
and Facebook are our constants. We are all, like every week we are going to broadcast on YouTube and Facebook. Instagram and Twitter we are doing now because we're working out of our home office today and we have the stuff available for us to do. But if like we were in Universal Studios last week and so we
each had our phones, so we just did YouTube and
so
Facebook.
So those are always be our staples. We'll always be on YouTube every week and Facebook. And we will be having different people doing this as we go forward. It's just that Margie and I feel like it's important enough to connect with caregivers and professionals and concerned individuals enough now that we are taking it over for now.
Oh, so what I was saying was being abandoned or purposely left behind is also a little bit different from being lost. We had a kiddo that was very hyper, a couple kiddos that were very, very hyper vigilant when in the car. Mm-hmm. I actually saw this somewhere too. Someone recently was talking about like having that problem. But one of the reasons why one of the kids was super hyper vigilant was because the child had been with birth family and been lost.
Right.
More than once. And it was a very traumatic experience for the child. And so anytime we diverged from our usual routes, and it took us a little while to figure out what was going on. But if we took a different route from daycare or we took a different route to school or something, the child would have a meltdown. Right. Because it was automatic, like, we're lost. I don't know where we're at. Like, this is a small child who knows the roads, who's always watching. And we were kind of blown away by it, but we'd have to say, okay, look, there's different ways to go. And we'd have to like really, and it took a long time to kind of move past that. But
yeah, it's real.
So, but that's why I was saying being lost is definitely it's a little bit different. But
yeah. Okay, well, we're getting to we're getting up to our 45-minute mark, which we can go up to an hour, but we like to keep it to 30 minutes, 45 minutes. I want you guys to be thinking about, like, what does anyone have anything that they want us to talk about next time? I think one thing that we had said last week, talking about like a little bit more of the science of trauma, we might we were both kind of wore out today, so we didn't get to that today, but we could get to that next time if you guys want to talk about what trauma does to your brain. And we'll talk about it I'm an artist, so I need to talk about it in not science terms. And Margie's a psychology major, so she can talk in psychology, and then I'll stop her when the words get too big. Oh, yeah. You can't see the other people's comments. Yeah. Instagram is saying they can't see the other people's comments.
That's why the question about where we were broadcasting.
Right, that's where we're broadcasting, yeah, because we have people commenting on all sorts of other places. Please, if you're still watching, or if you're not watching this live and you're watching it later, please comment and tell us what you do want to talk about, because Margie and I, Transfiguring Adoption wants this to be a time where caregivers, professionals, and concerned individuals can just come and check in during the week, just get that pep talk for the week, and go out and make a difference in the world for kids. So we don't want this to be us coming up with the themes. We want you guys to be coming up with it. And we've only been doing, this has only been like our 5th, 6th one that we've done. So we haven't gotten a lot yet because it takes a little while for this thing to roll. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, I really appreciate you guys. While you guys are thinking, and I'm waiting for those comments to come in about what to talk about next week, I will let you know that in October, we are going to be having our Universal Orlando trip for foster adoptive families. That's going to be 8 spots are available for
not 8 individuals, 8 families.
8 families. can join us on our trip. We're going to be going to Universal Studios Orlando in October, which would be fall. It's going to be fall break time for Tennessee and a lot of other places too. We're doing that for a reason, which I could share later if you want me to. But the trip
partially
is
the heat, partially crowd levels.
The trip's is about $1,000 cheaper depending on the size of your family.
Than if you just booked it.
Than if you just booked with Universal Studios. Plus, you're also going to get on-site lodging. You're going to get your tickets to the theme parks. You're going to get 4 Transfiguring Adoption staff members dedicated to just watching your family and helping you navigate the parks, get through the parks, create fun family memories, and help you with trauma or any meltdowns or anything that your kiddos have while in the park.
Our goal is to help prevent those.
Yes, our goal is to help prevent those. You're also going to be with 7 other families that get it. They get that the issues and struggles that you have when going on vacation with kiddos with trauma issues. So there's not going to be any judgment, just understanding and fun times. And we're also going to be giving you a welcome kit when you get there with full of tools and resources that Margie and I personally use in the amusement parks when we go. And we love going to Universal Studios. Check out our other YouTube videos. I'm getting ready to, I actually just last night, no, it was this morning, I posted another YouTube video of us going to Orlando with our adoptive kiddos. So we love going to the parks and we love doing it with trauma kiddos. So definitely join us. Check out our website, transfiguringadoption.com/vacation. Get your deposit in to hold your family's spot. Would love to have you come with us. I don't see anyone giving us any suggestions for next week, so I'm just going to say I'm so appreciative of all of you. Thank you for everyone that's been watching. All of you that are caregivers, foster parents, adoptive parents, you're amazing. You haven't been told enough today how amazing you are. I know you don't think that you're doing enough. I know you don't think that you're doing that much, and you might feel like you're failing, but let me tell you what, you are making the difference in the life of a child today just by existing and being you. So thank you for the work that you're doing, because it's absolutely phenomenal. For all of you that are concerned individuals or professionals watching, wanting to support caregivers, thank you from the bottom of our hearts, because there are not enough of you in the world to help support foster and adoptive parents.
Adoption Option says, have a suggestion, too much to type. Send it to us. We will
send it. If you have suggestions, either go to Facebook and comment under our live video that we just had, or you can email me at Darren, D-A-R-R-E-N, at transfiguringadoption.com. That's Darren, D-A-R-R-E-N, at transfiguringadoption.com. We'd love to hear yes, Adoption Option agreed. We should chat soon. Reese, we need to chat soon. Everyone need to chat soon. There's so many people on here that I saw that I'm like, I haven't spoken with a lot of people in a long time. So yeah, thank you so much for all you do. Thank you for the work that you're helping us do. You have anything else?
I'm fried. I'm ready for...
I hope we are helping you to
nurture
and grow your foster or adoptive family. Thanks for watching, YouTube.